This is Monday, July 7th. There are 16 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2025. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go. Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive, current music, refuse 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple, it looks dreamy.
Good evening, everybody. I am your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us.
And joining us, our first of two special guests tonight, writer and television critic whose work has been featured on Marvel, IGN, and Fandom, Eric Goldman.
Hello, guys. Great to be back here.
Awesome. Later on, we're going to be joined by Creative Riff's Alexa Criscuolo. And so welcome again to SDConCast. We'll be taking comments and questions during our show. Tweet us at SD_comic_con. Use the hashtag SDConCast. We will also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment there. But let's get talking to Eric. Carrie, why don't you kick it off?
So I think we would be remiss if we did not start with the fact that, again, Comic-Con basically spoiled several panels today. So it looks like we're getting some, in my opinion, surprising things that I did not expect, and then some normal favorites. So, like, for Disney TV, like, all the animation stuff is back. I don't think anybody is shocked by that. But I was surprised to see, like, Paradise on that list. I'm actually really excited about that one.
That's a really cool. I mean, that's been such a, like, buzzed about show this year. It hasn't reached the full, I think, breakout. I think it's one of those shows that almost is poised to with season 2, which is why it feels like a savvy move to go, right? It's like it's at that level of like, oh, people are buzzing, like kind of like when they brought Severance after just season 1, which I think you saw really explode with season 2. Yeah, it just feels like it's a good forward thinking move to bring it at this point.
Absolutely. Some other things that I was very pleasantly surprised to see is Stars is back this year after several years away. It looks like they're bringing both Outlander and Outlander Blood of My Blood and the new Spartacus. So I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, Spartacus, deep history with Comic-Con. I remember doing a press line for Spartacus, and we were outside, and they had to bring us inside because it was too windy out on the back patio. I mean, that show, it's taken a long time to get a new Spartacus show. So I do like that they're kind of bringing it back to a place that was once a welcome home for it. And I think given the fact that they are relaunching it, it's nice to see them doing it with Comic-Con as part of that.
Absolutely. And again, there's some very surprising choices on here, like NCIS, Tony and Ziva. That was probably the one that I was most surprised by, but whatever you want to do, Paramount, that's fine.
I wonder, it's so funny. So, I do freelance for IGN, where I used to work full time, and I covered IGN Live, which was just a few weeks ago, and I was surprised myself that Criminal Minds was a panel at IGN Live. So maybe this is like a CBS Paramount kind of thing. Like maybe
remounting,
they're like, yeah, like let's kind of get into this scene. We haven't really done much with these conventions.
I think there was actually a Criminal Minds panel at Comic-Con many years ago. Oh, wow. I kind of remember that. Yeah.
The random CBS showing up with whatever drama they felt like bringing happened quite a few years in a row.
Yes.
But which shows were they? Because it was like most of them were like lasted a year or two max.
Yeah.
Well, they brought Hawaii Five-0, and they did it in a funny way, which is like they pushed like the people that we knew from genre stuff, right? Yeah. So it was like they brought Grace Park and Daniel Day Kim and Orsi and Kurtzman because they were all coming off of Battlestar, Lost, Star Trek. So it's like this show has nothing to do with any of those things, but they've all been here for those things in the past.
Yes, for sure. And then also in somewhat surprising news I guess it's not that surprising, but we're getting Percy Jackson the Olympians back again. So anytime any of the Disney Plus stuff shows, I think it's always a pleasant surprise.
I mean, I don't think I'm pretty sure, given the fact that Marvel Studios is sitting out this year as on the panel side, I don't think we're going to get a surprise inclusion of anything like TV Marvel 2. But I'm like, come on, if you're bringing Percy Jackson, why don't you do just even some of the animation, but also the live action? I understand on the movies what they're thinking is why they want to wait with like the next movie's a way off, but they got a show in December, on Disney Plus, a Marvel show. Maybe they want to promote that.
Yeah, what about a Star Wars show that's been filming and might have some
maybe that too, right? Yeah,
let's bring something.
It's not a D23 year, so if you're not going to promote Wonder Man at Comic-Con, that's kind of its moment.
Seriously, show us stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the goods.
That's right. Well, that pretty much does it, I think, for what we know. So there's obviously going to be way more TV panels than those. So let's just kind of start going down the list. The one that I am most curious about, Eric, is what do you actually think the odds of Apple TV being there this year are?
This year, I think, lower. They went so big that one time with Severance, which was awesome. But I'm trying to think, right now, coming off, we finally got Severance season 2. Took a while. Like I said, it was a much bigger deal, I think. But I don't think, because we know we're not getting season 3 anytime soon. I feel like they're going to hold off on that. They're coming off The Studio, which I freaking love. Obviously, I
love it too.
It's so good. Not quite a Comic-Con show, but also you
they went to Anaheim Comic-Con.
Yes, they invented a fake version of Comic-Con for that show.
That's right. Come on.
So why not bring the real version? Again, I think it might be a victim of bad timing as far as, while it's never, we've definitely seen shows do the victory lap appearance coming off of their season.
And Severance was even one of those. It was after the first season.
It was. But I still think the streaming era, that doesn't happen quite as much, because of the lack of dependability on when these shows come back. So yeah, it just feels like, I don't know, with Apple, I'm trying to think of what they have coming up. You're usually way better at this on these things now, especially as we get more fragmented about what they might have in the pipeline. Yeah. But at the moment, I can't think of something that'd be the obvious, let's bring this.
They've got, so that Murderbot show is on right now. Silo came last year, and they started filming that last fall. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's a world in which they could bring that since they brought it last year. And yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, I don't think they would bring Murderbot this far into the season. And Silo, at least, Silo does have the benefit of actually having new material they can show from a new season. So I think that's one of those things where we never are really privy of. If they felt did we get our money's worth bringing it last year? Maybe we could bring it again this time. Yes. Although last year they also they didn't. I can't remember. Did they do a full panel? They did. They also have the Peanut stuff that they'll do as offsite and whatnot that they're obviously involved in.
I don't know. I never quite count that because I always feel I feel like that's really Peanuts bringing it, and it just so happens that the Camp Snoopy,
right.
We'll give you a little section over here.
You can watch some Camp Snoopy outside on those benches.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk AMC. So we know for sure The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon is going because, again, there's a signing for it. So that pretty much gives away the game. Do we think we get Interview with the Vampire and the other Immortal Universe shows?
I think there's a good chance. I think that they like to kind of serve those audiences, and the fact that it's they're kind of niche cult shows in the classic Comic-Con way, right? Yeah. I think that they know there's a benefit. And AMC, obviously, the history of AMC and Comic-Con with Walking Dead is so deep at this point. It feels like with the Anne Rice shows that they know that that's probably something good to also keep it coming and get the most passionate fans at those events. So I think there's a pretty good chance that they come back again.
I think so too. I think it's basically, so last year we got Interview with the Vampire and Maker Witches. I think this year we'll get in one panel, they combine them.
Yeah.
I think this year we'll get Interview and then the new show Telemasca. I have a feeling that they're going to pair them up again, but we'll see.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk. Do we think there's any shot that Doctor Who comes? We found out today that there's an offsite. In my opinion, it feels like that's probably all we're getting. What do you think?
I think most likely. Obviously, it's such an interesting time for Doctor Who with a lot of questions raised by where they left off. And it would be a big moment if they had a certain actress. I don't know why I'm dancing around things that people know, but I'll still dance around. If they had a certain person coming back to the show,
Sure.
come out on a panel here. But it feels like they're going to hold off. Yeah. Like they've been so odd with the kind of jumping in and out of Comic-Con through the years. And I just feel like it's, this won't be a year that they'll come.
Yeah. All right. Jumping over to HBO. We know Peacemaker's going. We know James Gunn and John Cena will be there. What do we think the odds are on it? Welcome to Derry. Do we get anything for that? Or is that all pushed off to New York because it's later in the year?
Yeah, the timing of that, if it weren't for New York, I think for sure, right? But I think there's a chance. I think that, It has a history with San Diego. Remember when they did It Chapter 2 with the big Conan O'Brien interview?
Yep. When they did Scare Diego, that was their thing.
Yes. It's one of those things where I think I'd be surprised if there were no, advertisements up for it. But a panel is 60% chance. I think that there's a chance that they will bring it. Just given that they tend, we already know they're, like you said, they're coming with something, and often they feel like they might as well get their money's worth and bring at least a couple shows. And that one is the most tailor made. Considering Last of Us and House of the Dragon are kind of off season, it feels like that would be a good fit.
Yeah. Let's talk Netflix. They are an inconsistent presence at Comic-Con at the very best. But they have two really big things. Well, they have one really big thing and one smaller thing coming out very close to the convention. Wednesday comes out on August 6th. And then Tremors also comes out in August, which in my opinion should be easy Comic-Con fodder. But does it come? I don't know. What do you think?
Most likely not, just because we know that Netflix likes to do things their own way. They've got to Dumb, which they they do such a big thing around that. They also do I can just tell you on my side of things, they do a lot of events here in LA, like they did at the top of the year. It was a press event, but it was a multi-city across the world press event. And they brought out a bunch of people on stage. It was very kind of it was more like the upfronts than Comic-Con, because there was a lot of come out and wave appearances from their stars. But it just feels like they like to do so many of their own things. Almost like the fact that they stopped going to the TCA press tour many years ago. I just think that there's a good shot that they sit it out, even though Wednesday would be a major moment with Jenna Ortega, doing a major convention appearance for that. I think it's pretty unlikely. I'd love to be surprised, but I think it's pretty unlikely.
Agreed. All right. So Paramount Plus, we're surely getting the Star Trek shows, right? I mean, there's only 2 of them at this point, but we are surely getting them both.
I would think so, especially Strange New World. Yeah, they've been pretty consistent coming, and Strange New World's finally actually airing with the promise of 2 more seasons beyond it. I would be surprised if they didn't. And at this point, obviously, they'd have a lot more to show from Starfleet Academy. And given that it's weird to say that'll be the last Star Trek show when we still have 3 more seasons of Strange New World to actually see, and whatever comes after that. But I think they'll bring both those shows.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think they will probably bring their animated Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, again, that's a super easy sale at Comic-Con. Peacock. Do we get anything from Peacock this year?
Do we get anything
or NBCU in general? So they do have the 2nd season of Twisted Metal, which when the 1st season premiered was the year of the strike, so we got no actors. So they could always do something with that.
I think there's a chance for that. Yeah, I can see Twisted Metal, because I just they had a presence, a smaller presence, but they had a presence at IGN Live. I think that they know, again, we've got this video game adaptation. It was well received, but like you said, it was a strike situation when it was first coming out.
Yep.
I can see that being very viable for them for a second season.
They've also got Copenhagen, which is a spy thriller with Simu Liu and Melissa Herrera.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when that's coming out, so that may just be too far out, but I'm like, both of those people also feel like super easy sells at Comic-Con, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I always wonder, I never know how much the people who were doing these things gauge this, but it's like in a year when, say, like Marvel isn't going, but everyone wants to know about the next 2 Avengers movies. Well, if we bring Simu Liu, everyone's going to want to like, to talk about that. So I think that, I think it might be a question of when the show's premiering and if they think it's too far out to bring it. But I feel like Twisted Metal is a good shot. And then maybe they would do the thing of like, let's add one more. And that would be the most obvious show to do.
Yes, absolutely. So beyond that, it's mostly the animated stuff, which I'm sure we'll get a lot of the normal things. I'm very sure over on Showtime's Dexter Resurrection will come, considering they are sponsoring the badges. Thank you, Paramount. So surely we will get some kind of presence for Dexter Resurrection.
Yeah. Again, a show that goes way back at Comic-Con.
Yes.
There was an era, like there was a time when Dexter came several years in a row. I'm sure you guys remember, as we were talking about like in the past, and the times when weird things happen at Comic-Con, like when Showtime did a weird like anti-heroes panel that they also involved Nurse Jackie and Californication.
Yes,
yeah, that were not great fits.
It was
Dexter,
so weird.
It was so weird, but Dexter was always a good fit, and the fact that they're bringing it back in such a big way, and obviously everything we've seen with imagery at Comic-Con this year, I would be surprised if we weren't there.
Same. All right, let's see what some folks in our chat are asking about. Mike Nelson pointed out that CBS also brought that Magnum PI reboot. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was more of a stretch.
Even though Marvel Studios is not going, what do we think the odds are that we get a Marvel animation panel? Because we have had those before in the past, like separately.
We have. It's just, again, I'd love if they did it. I was thinking about the fact that in 2022, everything that we saw at that animation panel, we've seen now, except for Marvel Zombies, has still not aired. Eyes of Wakanda is coming, another season of X-Men 97, another season of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So in theory, that's a solid group of things that they could preview. It just seems unlikely because Marvel Animation is Marvel Studios. Obviously, it's a branch of it. We didn't, when we heard the news that Marvel Studios wasn't going, it wasn't unequivocally, and that means no Marvel Animation. It just seems like probably not. Right. I'd love if they would do that, but it doesn't seem very likely, but I think it'd be cool if they did. I just want to see more from Marvel Zombies, and I'd love to see that show because it's been a while.
That would be nice. Mm-hmm. Frame by Frame asked, My Adventures with Superman Season 3. That's over on Adult Swim. I feel like it's so hard to predict, in my opinion, whatever Adult Swim will bring, because they just have like 80,000 shows. You just never know where in production any of those are.
Well, yeah, but as we've talked about in the past, in our Jack Quaid King of Comic-Con era, with the possibility of him being there for another show, then I think the chances increase greatly because we've joked that I think there was one year when the guy had like 4 panels or something. It was crazy.
He did. He had 4 last year. Yes.
So he's lessened, but he's still got some stuff going on, and so I think he is only increased in kind of popularity and whatnot, and so I think that if his other show was going, that there's a good chance to get my.
So let's talk about that then, actually, because we didn't touch on Prime Video. Surely we're getting Gen V. It's all over the trolley wraps right now. Like, that's usually a very good sign that we're getting a panel. But do we get the boys?
I think absolutely. I think that it's gone big there in the past. I say absolutely. Nothing's absolute. But I say very likely. It's gone so big in the past. They just wrapped production, we know, on the final season. Gen V is probably going anyway. And I just think that even if The Boys, I don't know if, we don't really know when the final season is airing. And especially since they still have Gen V's next season air first, it is possible The Boys doesn't air till basically this time next year. I still think they'd probably want to do it, right? I still think that like the history of the show there, of Kripke there, of Jack Quaid there, there's just a lot of elements. It's kind of been one of those shows that's been very infused, even though it hasn't gone every time. But I think that there is just at this point like a deep enough history, and the fact that they just wrapped, it makes me feel like that they will probably want to bring them schedules pending for all the actors they just lost from having all the time, but they'd probably still have booked this out if they wanted to do this a while ago.
So Prime Video's other big live action series, Fallout. Is there any possibility we get that, or is that just way too far out because it doesn't release until December?
I think there's a good chance. I think there's always the question of like the New York Comic Con question of like some, because obviously there are shows that go to both. But if some studios or networks decide we want to just do one and doesn't make more sense if it's premiering in December, but I think there's a good chance. Even the fact that, right now the show was really well received. Walton Goggins Mania continues to be a thing too. And I think that they know that would be a kind of cool big deal because I don't think he's done a lot of Comic-Con in the past. Has his stars risen, so I think there's a healthy shot for Fallout.
That's good. That's good to hear. That is more than I thought, so I love to hear that. So what
trying to be optimistic here?
No, I love it. What do we think about their animated stuff? So they've got that Bat Family animated show, and then they've got Has-Been Hotel.
I don't know, because in the past, like they did that one panel, was it last year, that was like Sausage Party. It like involved a bunch of the animated stuff, kind of overlapping. But because they don't have as much this time, and it felt like even last year they didn't feel like they wanted to do those things on their own, I'm a little skeptical that this year they do it,
Okay. I think they both show, but we will find out soon enough.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. What else? Cam Dice asked, what do we think the odds are that Dexter Resurrection gets Hall H? To be fair, it seems like there's going to be less in Hall H.
Yeah, I was going to say, last year, no, if we were making predictions. This year feels like there's a good chance. This year seems like, halfway decent shot at it, right?
Yep.
By the way, I want to amend what I said. Bat Family, you're right. Of course, Batman. Yeah, they're going to bring it in some way. So.
They always bring Batman. Like, animated Batman is just
right.
Yeah.
But yes, I think Dexter and Hall H is a pretty good shot this year for sure.
Yeah. Mike Nelson asked, do we think any of Ryan Murphy's shows will come?
I don't think so.
I feel like it's been several years since
it's been a long time
there. Yeah. I think FX is very clearly and very rightly going huge with the Alien show.
Yeah.
So as they should.
They absolutely should.
Yes. So I fully expect like pretty much all of their promotion to go towards that. Like I basically expect that to be the wrap. I expect it to be like everything. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
There was a couple questions when you guys were talking about Apple, mentioning a couple of their shows, Foundation and the Godzilla show. But it's
Monarch. I don't know why I forgot about Monarch. Monarch again. We just don't know when it's coming back. But it does feel like that would be a good one to bring. So I do think I almost feel like this is one of those things where like Apple either sits out this year completely, or maybe they bring a couple of shows. Like I think there's like we were talking about Silo. I'm like I don't know if they just bring Silo. But it's like, like maybe, and Anna Sawai, obviously her star has risen since the first season. They've had another MonsterVerse movie that did really well. So I do think like, but again, that it just might be the question of, is it not coming for a while which makes them decide whether or not they're going to actually bring it.
And you never know. I think we only got Silo last year.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So, TBD.
And then someone else, when we were talking about Doctor Who, a few people mentioned maybe the spinoff show, possibly the Unit spinoff show. Because is there an offsite that maybe?
Yes. The offsite is definitely themed towards Unit. It feels like. I don't know. I just feel like normally I feel like panels are announced before offsites from studios. So the fact that like we got the offsite but no panel days, to me says that's all they're bringing. But we'll see.
This doesn't feel like a good space for Doctor Who to bring stuff when so much is it's up in the air about the show.
Yeah.
That's what I think too. I think that it's like they basically don't want to answer the questions people would have right now. You know?
Yep. For sure.
By the way, that's also the reason I don't think The Last of Us comes, besides the fact that it's between seasons, is like right now, there'd be a lot of questions about certain changes on the series.
100%. And not only that, but like HBO and Warner Brothers in general have definitely moved away from like bringing everything in the kitchen sink. Like I feel like if it's not like within the next couple months, like these days from them, it's got no shot.
Yeah. I know we talked about this last year, but it's like, just what used to be with Warner Brothers TV, would it be like, well, it's almost like, what are they not bringing?
Yeah. It's a very different question these days.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you most excited about this year, Eric? Like, what are you hoping comes or that's been announced that you're excited about?
I mean, I will say, even though at this point it is a familiar presence, I do love Ghosts. And so I
do too.
Yeah. And also, I think I've mentioned before that Rose McIver is like one of my favorite people. Like, I moderated one of the iZombie Comic-Con panels. I covered the hell out of that show. She was always the sweetest person. I'm so happy for her continued success and for the show's continued success. And I like our dependables, right? And we don't have as many these days. Part of that being that like the CW's like slate of shows doesn't go. So I'm excited for that. And then on the new front, I am very intrigued by Alien Earth. As a huge fan of the Alien franchise, as a huge fan of Noah Hawley. I'm also, yes, I have my trepidations. Will this walk on continuity and all that stuff? But mostly I'm just excited and, curious to see more from that. I have some colleagues who got to see the first episode. I didn't get to see the first episode yet, who seemed pretty excited by what they saw. But yeah, that of the new things, that's something I'm definitely hyped for.
Perfect. And then I just kind of wanted to ask you in general about, it definitely feels like studios have been slowly scaling back at Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that that's purely budget, or because as we all know, entertainment is broke at the moment?
Sure.
Or do you think that something else is at play there?
I don't know. I think it's a little bit of a few things. I think that, the budget and just the idea of being more selective and the idea of choosing your moments more. Look, I'm sure you guys had plenty to say about Marvel Studios not doing a panel this year. But so not to reiterate too much of that, but I think it's a good snapshot of just like, I don't think that meant Marvel Studios is never coming back to Comic-Con at all,
not.
And we've talked about that in the past, how they're already taking some years off and come back. I just think that TV, because of the nature of TV, used to be even more, like we were saying, dependable. Like, every year they're just going to show the same shows will come every year. And I think that's changed both because of the way these shows are released and because we don't have the CW network airing multiple superhero shows that come back every fall like clockwork. Yeah. But also the fact that, they're just trying to choose their moments better and less, as we said, of like the victory lap stuff, less of the like, we just aired another season and you loved it, because it might be a couple years before this show comes back and we don't want to blow our budget on that appearance. That what did that gain us versus waiting for our moment when the show's coming back, and that's not to say they never do. Like we said with Severance, which, went so big that year in a way that I think was very smart for a streaming service that, everyone talks about, lots of money behind it, but not as many eyes on it. So it was a smart move to be like, hey, let's build on the buzz that's there. But I think with some of these other big shows, it doesn't mean they won't come back to Comic-Con. I just think that they're thinking like, is this the right Comic-Con given our schedule and everything that we have laid out? Maybe not, but maybe next year it's. So I think it's a lot of those different elements, colliding.
Completely agree with all of that.
And that leads to another question in the relationship between Comic-Con and the studios.
Mm-hmm.
Who needs who more?
Right. It's always so funny, like, because I'm sure you guys feel that. I don't like, as someone who's been going to Comic-Con, I just realized, by the way, I think this will be my 30th year. Not my third. There was a couple years I missed early on, but I think my first Comic-Con was 1995. Although I'm a little shaky on that, but I think it was. The reason my evidence, by the way, is that I have a Star Wars comic book that was a Comic-Con 1995 exclusive, and I'm like, I think I just got it there. I don't think I got it anywhere else. But, when I think back to, when people are like, and you'll get sort of the hyperbole of like, oh, well, Comic-Con, is it not going to be what it once was and all this? And I'm like, it's so funny to think that Comic-Con was always huge. It was always huge. It just got even bigger. And so, I do think the chicken and the egg question of who needs who more, it really also is situational. Because Comic-Con, if all this, if not all the movies stopped going, because I think there was always something, right? There was always like,
sure.
I remember when Sleepy Hollow went and it brought Casper Van Dien and only Casper Van Dien, because it was like, that was the kind of thing that was happening back then. If it went back to that, well, yes, I'm sure Comic-Con would lament it as far as some of the big money coming in and whatnot, but they were still selling a lot of tickets. It just grew and grew. So yeah, I think the studios sometimes think that Comic-Con, so you get the stories right about, oh, well, this thing went to Comic-Con and it seemed to go over huge and then it bombed. So thus Comic-Con doesn't mean anything. I'm like, no, I think there's a lot of situational elements there, and great movies bomb all the time, whether or not they went to Comic-Con or not. It's just like, there's so many different elements. There are movies and TV shows that have definitely been helped by Comic-Con and kind of the addition that can give. At the same time, Comic-Con, of course, has had times where they've been helped by this boost. So I think that they both help each other. I think that there was just a moment in time that has passed us where it was like everyone was all in. Everyone was like all in on everything. And that's calmed down, and I think it will step back a bit, and maybe it won't be quite as insane. Maybe Thursday mornings won't be as insane. Like, when that moment where it was like, it was nonstop. There's no uncrazy time of Comic-Con. Maybe it will get a little bit more to, I don't know, not the early aughts, but like the late aughts, but like, right before Twilight. But it'll still be big, and it'll still be these moments, and they'll still have these crazy Comic-Con panel moments. Those like, you had to be there moments. That was amazing. And in the social media age, those things can go viral still. So I think that they both need each other. I think that they just also both don't need each other as constantly as they did in the past.
No, I completely agree. And I think there are, even though like, I know a lot of people feel like, oh, well, if Marvel Studios doesn't have their big Hall H panel this year, if DC Studios doesn't have their big Hall H this panel, that like there's less there. But I'm like, there are so many signs that studios are still so invested in Comic-Con. I'm like, Amazon is bringing a movie for the first time, like they've only ever brought TV shows. Universal is still bringing 2 movies that we don't even know about, which we're very excited about. Walt Disney Studios proper, like not the other branches of 20th century and all that, like they have not brought a movie in so long, but they're bringing Tron. I think that's fantastic. So.
Do we know for sure they're bringing Predator, or do we think it's probably
yes, they for sure are.
It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, it might be on some level a quieter Comic-Con, which is to say, we're not getting the Hall H. This already happened, right? We're not getting the Hall H packed to the rafters every single minute, Thursday through Saturday and often Sunday. That's not happening. Yet there'll still be these huge moments. And also, it's that thing where if you brought someone who'd never been to Comic-Con this summer, and he said, this is a quieter year,
they would know any different. Yeah.
They go, what the hell are you talking about? There's 10 million people, and there's a zillion panels.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm like, honestly, like in the quote unquote quieter years, if we can even call them that, I'm like, I always feel like it just gives the show floor more of a chance to shine, and I feel like it gives offsites more of a chance to shine. So there is no such thing as a bad year at the convention.
100%. Yeah, I'll probably do a post. I did a post last year about my like looking back 20 years on Comic-Con 2004, because that's when I start to have a lot of, the better pictures. The more we get into digital camera era, the more, and then almost towards iPhone, I have more pictures. And it's like when I look back at, like, say 2005 even, I was like, it was like a huge year. And again, pre-Twilight, before people say like, and the MCU, people saying that's when it went really insane. I'm like, yeah, but like that was when like Peter Jackson's King Kong came and Superman Returns, and there was just a ton of stuff happening. Tenacious D did a concert in Hall H that year. It's like it did not feel like nothing's going on here, even though it was like what we think of Comic-Con becoming.
Absolutely. Well, Eric, we always love so much when you join us. This is one of the highlights for me, this podcast every year. I just love talking TV with you. So
likewise, guys. So thank you. I always love coming on. It's a proud tradition. I was looking in. It was funny. I did a Twitter search today to find your post so I could retweet it, and I was finding all the other posts from other years, and I was like, good times. So
Yes. Well, before we have you hop off, why don't you tell our readers where they can find you?
You can find me. I'm the Eric Goldman on most of your social media, on the dark remnants of Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Instagram, and then also I am on YouTube reviewing movies and stuff. Also, the Eric Goldman on there, and then you can find. I'm doing a pretty fair amount on IGN, so you can find me doing some articles and popping up here and there on IGN as well.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Eric, and we'll see you at Comic-Con.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
All right. So I think it is time to bring on our next guest. James, do you want to intro her?
Sure. Let's welcome our second guest, Alexa Criscuolo, Director of Production at Creative Riff, the team behind some of your favorite activations like FX, AVA Fest, and more. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. We are huge fans of what you and your team do, so we're very excited to talk to you.
Awesome. Very excited to be here.
So before we dive in, why don't you just tell anyone who's not familiar a little bit about what you and Creative Riff do?
Yeah, absolutely. Creative Riff is an experiential marketing agency. We partner with those big entertainment brands that the fans are seeing show up at Comic-Con each year. So we really work with them on what shows they're wanting to bring to Comic-Con, and with them every step of the way on concepting and how we bring that to life physically as well. And then we're the team on the ground, really just building it all and making it come to life. And then me specifically, I work and oversee our production team that focuses on Comic-Con. So I oversee kind of all of our projects that are on the ground at Comic-Con each year.
Love that. So on that note, you guys have been part of some of the most memorable Comic-Con offsites over the years, including, as we mentioned a minute ago, FX and their FX exhibition, last year's AVA Fest, for Abbott Elementary. What is it that you think makes Comic-Con such a unique destination for these activations?
Totally, yeah. I mean, I think the fans make Comic-Con unique, that it's such a diverse group. It's fans of all ages and backgrounds. So I really think there's just something for everyone at Comic-Con. And the fans that come, they're true fans. So it really allows us to create these like super immersive experiences that they really appreciate. And another thing that I think is just so unique is, while attending inside the convention center is an incredible experience, I think, outside of the convention center is just so unique also, all of the offsites and experiences that you can create or see in San Diego. The city's just fully taken over by Comic-Con, which I think is just so unique. You really don't get that at other conventions. So it just offers this totally free experience that really allows fans to immerse themselves in the world of Comic-Con, and you just don't get that anywhere else.
It's so true. Like you step outside in New York Comic Con and it's like, oh, I'm back in New
You're
York.
just in New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally different.
So when you start a new activation project, what's the very first question that you ask yourself?
Oh, yeah. So I think our team really just dives in with, what about this IP is so important to the fans and how do we bring that to them within the experience? The fans that attend Comic-Con, they really are the fanatics of these shows. They know all the Easter eggs. They can repeat all of the iconic lines, and they really pay attention to every detail in the show. So they really want to see that come through in the experiences at Comic-Con. They want to feel like they're just like placed into the world of their favorite show. So it's really important for our teams to kind of collaborate with our clients to really understand this show through and through. And then, we're diving into every episode. We're watching past seasons, current seasons. We're watching the episodes over and over and over again so that we're just getting every detail like down to the T, because we want to bring that to consumers. Like these fans, they notice that. And it's so important. So we really, really dive into the worlds and bring those important factors to our activation.
That's really a cool thing about that you mentioned about Comic-Con. Comic-Con attendees, they know, like you say, they know the show, so you can create something that it sounds like it's a completely different kind of experience than you would create for something that's just like a random event where there's just a bunch of general people like off the street, let's say. Yeah. Where you don't know if they're going to be fans, so you have to kind of do other things in order to get them. This one, you can just focus in on what the fans would like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is what makes it so unique. If you're doing an immersive pop-up just in LA and you're just popping up for fans to kind of give awareness about a show, it's a totally different focus than when you're popping up for the fans at Comic-Con. Comic-Con fans, they don't miss a beat. If you are not on point, if you are not, bringing it, then they'll recognize that. And, they're not afraid to provide feedback, which we love. So you really have to nail it when you're at Comic-Con. Like these are the people who know the properties inside and out. So you got to bring it to them.
One of the things that I think is the most impressive about what you guys do is obviously like when you get there on the ground in San Diego, like we're basically talking about lawns or parking lots or bits of gravel, and then you turn them into these amazing experiences. What are the building challenges with working with basically nothing?
Yeah, it's not for the weak. But, we're essentially building things from scratch. I always like to joke, our producers are just like general contractors at the end of the day. But yeah, these venues, they have no existing infrastructure. So there's no power, there's no running water, there's no internet, there's truly like nothing. So when we're designing, our team really has to consider how each element is built at such a deeper level than, just showing up at a regular venue. And then on top of that, making sure it can withstand 4 days in, the hot San Diego sun, because it is so hot every weekend of Comic-Con. So it just really takes a lot of collaboration between all teams, no decision is too small. We're talking about umbrellas and, big decisions like a water source for the water gun game that we had at AVA Fest last year. Every single decision that we make, it really takes a lot of collaboration between so many different teams.
So that brings us to FX, one of the ongoing ones that's been so important and big every year. It's basically one of the offsite staples of Comic-Con now. How has that approach to creating FX evolved over the years of doing it?
Yeah, so we've been working with FX on Comic-Con since 2016, and they're really such a talented group of individuals. They're a great client to work with. We've built such a great partnership with them that we're really able to be collaborative and build kind of amazing activations each year. So we're really proud of that offsite for sure. Honestly, we just really strive to make each year better than the last. We're bringing the newest, most popular shows directly to the fans, and we're listening to what worked, maybe what didn't work. We're incorporating those Easter eggs for any returning shows so that we're keeping fans engaged. But we learn a lot from the fans. As I mentioned, they provide feedback, and it's really, really valuable to us each year. So we learn each year what's important to them. They're definitely a group of fans that they're so dedicated to what they love. And, you know, when they really dive into Comic-Con, they are exploring each activation. Like they're really going to all of them. So we just really try to understand what they want each year. You know, they want immersion. They really want, you know, photo ops of like iconic moments of the show. But, you know, each year we're just evolving to meet their needs. You know, we like to listen and we like to step it up so that they're really satisfied each year.
So I want to touch on something that you just said, which is that fans are always looking for like little hidden Easter eggs in the activations. Do you have any favorites that you guys have put in over the years?
Totally. I mean, there's a ton, but I really love what we did last year for Mr. Johnson's Closet of Curiosities at AVA Fest. You know, he's just, you know, he's a character from the show. He's the janitor in the show, and he's just like the most over the top character, I think, on the show. So we were really able just to pull little nods from all the episodes into this closet. We were able to they made a bust of him for the show, and the prop team was able to let us have that for the weekend. So it was so cool. Like, it was really cool. And it was really awesome to see everyone like explore and react to it. Like the true fans like understood every little nod. And the team just put so much work into it. So getting that, like watching that come to life was just incredible.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
So with all of the amazing activations at FX over the years, like Garden of the Dolls for AHS and What We Do in the Shadows and Najas and all of those, do you have any that were your favorite?
You know, I really loved all of them for just, I think, so many different reasons. But one that I like always go back to is our 2022 activation. So main points being Nadja's nightclub, Garden of the Dolls, and the Little Demon Den. So I think what was so unique about that one, it was really the first year that we were able to have a linear experience. You know, we were able to have so many different FX IPs under one storyline for fans, while also making each touch point for the show so unique and specific to that show. So I really love the way that came together. Like, it was just this really cool storyline, but we were still touching on each one. And I just don't think we were able to do that for any other years. Like, we were able to bring the FX brand to consumers in that way. Like, just this one story that really told everything you needed to know about the shows that we were promoting that year. So I just thought it was a really unique way to promote the brand in a way that I just don't think we were able to do before.
That was also my favorite year at FX. So I would agree with that. It was so clever the way that you guys laid it out. And it's still like every series still got its moment. It was just phenomenal. You guys did a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, you know, a labor of love. Like, everyone just put so much dedication into that one. And, you know, the clients really let us, you know, run with that. And it was amazing.
Well, speaking of that year, one of my favorite things about FX is how there's always such a focus on live actors. Like, you guys have had some amazing ones, from the dolls to even, like, I think it was that year, like, the people dressed as the bushes, like, going around. That was so fun.
It was.
So what do you think makes a live actor interaction succeed in that kind of setting?
Yeah, I mean, I think the actors just really need to like fully embody the role, you know, everything from their costume to hair and makeup to their confidence to their body language. Like, they really just, from a physical point of view, need to really nail it. We don't have a ton of time. So first impressions are huge and they need to nail that moment. So our team is really thinking about like, what are those high impact engagements and how do we make it come to life in such a raw way, you know? So we're just like planning every moment down to the second. We have a cue to cue. We're planning how they're entering and exiting, and we're planning like where they're placed throughout the activation. So it's just really thoroughly thought out between so many team members to really make those moments perfect, to be able to integrate into the activation so well.
Well, on that note, do you have like a favorite kind of live actor interaction or moment over the years?
I absolutely do. In 2019, we did this lounge for What We Do in the Shadows. The lounge was at the Promenade Plaza at the Hilton, so like kind of, you know, attached to the hotel.
Yep.
And our back of house was on the lawn, and it was a bit like closer to where the adult swim space is. So far, right? Like very far from each other. So the actors had to move from back of house to the Shadows Lounge, each time they were, getting on shift or taking a break or whatever. And from the moment they're leaving back of house, they have to be in character, right? Like they're already dressed. They have to just own it from the minute they leave back of house until they get to the lounge. And it's sunny San Diego. They're not walking in shade, and they're vampires, so they can't be in the sun. So we had these vampires, and they're running across. They have the jackets over their head, and making sure that like everything was just covered by shade, so they didn't get burned. And they're just like sprinting across the lawn in the sun, and they're yelling out these like very cheeky, what we do in the shadows-esque one-liners as they're running. And it was hilarious. Every single time I just laughed, no matter how many times I saw it. And, obviously the fans are kind of rotating through. They're not there every time. So when they do see it, like everyone just loved it. And I thought it was such a fun touch that happened each time. So it was really great.
Absolutely.
That is very cool. So let's switch gears a bit, and let's jump over to Abbott Elementary's AVA Fest, which was for all the fans that were there, just a joyous experience with fun, the fair type and all those things that were, including the Eagles drum line. How did the whole concept of AVA Fest come together?
Yeah, so AVA Fest, it's actually a concept from the show. It's an annual festival that the school holds for their open house. And it's been featured in, I think, almost every season. So the principal, Ava, she turns that open house into an opportunity to really rally the community around kind of whatever challenges they're facing for that season. And ABC really wanted to bring this festival to the fans at Comic-Con. So, the team just really thought about what a summer-themed AVA Fest would be if it was planned and put on by the Abbott staff and the PTA. And then in addition to that, we really just wanted to make sure every character was represented in a way that really felt true to form for who they were. And we wanted to bring that fun festival energy to Comic-Con. In 2022, we had an Abbott activation, and we had a lot of in-world performances. We had the Fade Step team and the Double Dutch team. And that was just so successful. People really loved it. So we felt it was only natural to really bring that to 2024 as well. But we wanted to find something that was really authentic to like a carnival style activation while still feeling in world to Abbott. And the drumline was just a perfect fit.
Absolutely. So another aspect of the offsite that I really enjoyed, I know no one ever likes this word, but the choose your own swag last year. Like there were so many just amazing giveaways last year, but I loved like the station where you could kind of make your own. It almost felt to me like a school book fair where like you got to choose the item that meant something to you. Talk to me a little bit about this and like, how much of that is you guys versus deciding to do that versus the studio going, hey, we want to do giveaways, like these are the specific things we want to give away? What is that process kind of like?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, just having a cool giveaway is just so important for fans, and it's really a staple of Comic-Con. So I think, all of our clients, it's very important every year to them and to us. Like we know that's really what the fans love and are looking for. So aside from the fans loving it, it really serves our goals too. We want to make sure that the brand is noticed outside of the activation. So if a fan has something really cool and they're walking around, someone's going to ask them like, hey, where did you get that? So it really drives traffic for the rest of the days that are there. If it's something that people really love and really want. So we definitely think about like what's cool and what do they actually need at Comic-Con. I think like finding something super functional as well. We found that to be like the best way to go about it. So for AVA Fest, we had the trucker hats, which were so popular. It's hot, it's sunny, like everyone needs a hat. And then with the tote bags, those were really functional. We're at Comic-Con, everyone is collecting things consistently. So again, functionality was super important there. And then I think giving them the opportunity to customize that, it really like makes them buy into the activation. It makes them feel like they have something they really love and that it's unique as well. And then additionally, it really has a long-term effect. When fans take these items home, it becomes part of their collections. It becomes part of their stories to their friends when they're telling them about Comic-Con. So it really leaves that like nugget in your mind about that activation and that brand and that show. So it really just has a long lasting effect too.
Absolutely. And I did just want to point out that the real JPM mentioned in the comments that the umbrellas at FX last year were also super functional.
They were, yeah. Again, we collaborate really hard with our clients on this, but we all agree like having something that's functional for the weekend that can be seen, that people are going to use at Comic-Con and can be seen, it's really important.
Agreed. I think that's the right attitude.
So one of the other things that fans do at Comic-Con is unfortunately wait in lines.
Yes.
And so how do you account for line design and the pre-show experience in your creative process?
Yeah, I mean, it's always top of mind. We're always kind of, looking at how to incorporate the line, and I think the best way possible. It's the first impression of your activation, and we know they're going to wait for hours. So we just try to be as communicative and accommodating as possible. If we can provide shade at any point, we like to do that. And really just making sure every interaction with the fans is positive. They do wait for hours, and we so appreciate that. It's really amazing what they do. And we work with really great vendors that interact with people in the line to get them really excited about what's to come. I know at, Abbott last year, we had the stilt walkers and we had all these characters. So we really just try to make it as fun as possible. We know it's not the most exciting part, but, we really value the fans and appreciate that they're just so willing to wait in these lines and that they're so patient.
So I want to shift gears a little bit here and just kind of talk about Comic-Con in general. First of all, how long have you been going to Comic-Con?
So I've been working Comic-Con since 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
So several years now.
Yes.
So in that time, what has been the biggest change that you've seen in offsites over that time period at Comic-Con?
Yeah, I mean, I think just them becoming a destination on their own. I really think that so many fans are coming to Comic-Con now just for the offsites, which, it's huge. When I first started working Comic-Con, the Embarcadero, there's only a few activations out there behind the convention center. But now it's become this like major destination with so many activations popping up back there. So it's just really become this hub, like Gaslamp and Petco Park was always, a huge hub for everybody. And now the Embarcadero has just become this destination as well. So I think that's grown a lot. And then I just think the focus of the offsites also, I think it's grown from these major fandom IPs, like The Walking Dead or these really big movie franchises. And now it's just a broader mix of fandom. So kind of really bolstering what I said earlier, like it really has something for everybody. It's shifted from this niche comic book event to this pop culture, like mega event. And it's really transformed. It's become incredible.
So on this note, I want to ask, what do you think activations offer to fans that is so unique and makes them so special?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just what I kind of went on earlier too, it's like we are creating these for the fans, right? Like, yes, we are promoting IPs for the networks and everything. And we're making sure that these shows are coming through, but these fans, they're just such diehards, and like I think just Comic-Con in general is just this unique experience where you are waiting in these long lines. So I think you're just trying to create these really special moments that these super mega fans can like come in and experience, and just like unlike anything you've really ever experienced. I think we just create these worlds where you're really plopping them into this scene from their favorite show. And I just think that's so unique. I really feel like you don't get that in a lot of other places. So I really love how like deep we're able to go, really those deep cuts with certain shows. So I think that's very interesting.
So over the years, have you been able to be on site and just witnessing, people going through the lines and experiencing the events?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so, has there been like somebody's reaction or something that happened in a line or a photo op where, it came to mind, this is exactly why we do this?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, just bolstering on our events, AVA Fest for sure last year as a whole, like every single time I stood in like the center of that activation, and just seeing fans reacting to either the drum line or all of the different touch points, and like just seeing how happy they were, and people leaving AVA Fest and just being like, this was one of the best activations, like this was so much fun, like just hearing how excited they were every time they were within the experience or leaving the experience, you know, it just was amazing. There were just so many awesome reactions, you know, everything, the Easter eggs, the character representation. Like, I just really felt like you can tell that all of the fans were really feeling that like magic that we're trying to create at all of our activations. And then also like internally watching my team and their kind of success come to life, you know, is there was this one day where our internal team was front of house, and so was the client team, and the Eagles drumline came out and they were, you know, doing their thing. And it was just this awesome moment to like look around and see, you know, these really hardworking individuals, our really amazing collaborative clients at ABC, just bask in this performance alongside of these fans that were like, oh my God, like what? How did you do this? It was just those moments for me too. It's like I love seeing the fans react, but I love seeing the clients and, you know, our team just react to like what they built in real time. That for me, it's like, ooh, this is why we do this. It's just so incredible.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say that we have a lot of comments in our chat right now saying how much they've loved AVA Fest or FX. So you've got a lot of fans for what you guys do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we love what we do. So love to hear that it's appreciated.
So I want to know, why is Comic-Con the ultimate fan experience, and what sets it apart from anywhere else?
I think just the way that San Diego transforms is truly like what makes it so different than anything else. You know, it's just so unique. The restaurants are taken over for activations. Menus are changed to like theme to either what the activation is or to Comic-Con. You know, the gas lamp is just totally transformed. It's like you're in a different place. So I really just feel like fans are immersed in Comic-Con from like the minute they get to baggage claim at the airport and like drive into the city. You know, if you're in San Diego at any other time of the year, like I think you would just have a completely different experience. So I really just think that's what makes it so unique. Like, you really can't be anywhere in San Diego during Comic-Con without feeling like you're at Comic-Con. Like, if you're at any of the hotels, you're at Comic-Con. Walking through Gaslamp, everything is Comic-Con. So I just think that it's such a unique thing that I really haven't seen anywhere else. Like, never seen a city takeover in the way that San Diego Comic-Con does it.
Completely agreed. It's one of the best things about the Comic-Con campus, is what they always call it, but it's so true.
It's incredible.
So we have to ask, is there anything you can tease about this year's event, as we are now 16 days away?
Yeah, 16 days. Oh man.
Is that terrifying?
Yes, terrifying and exciting. You know, I can't tease much, but you know, Creative Riff will be showing up at Comic-Con with our repeat clients. And I'm so excited for everyone to come to our activations and just kind of see the worlds that we're building. So come on by, you know where to find us, and we'll see you there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Alexa, and I hope we see you at Comic-Con.
Yes, thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah. That was awesome. Okay. So now I guess it's time for news.
Like it's going to take as long as 2 guests.
Jeez.
Okay. All right. I will just kick it off, I guess. So Robert, Legion of Sand, on our team put together a guide about restaurants at Comic-Con. This is not just like, here are restaurants in the Gaslamp. This is restaurants that are doing like themed menus, theming at their restaurants. Like Barley Mash is doing Barley's Blockbuster, like drink specials. Donut Bar Pop-Up has Labubu donuts, unless Pop Mart tries to sue them, which feels likely at this point, and more. So go check that out.
All right, and thanks to Jermaine last week, because he reported on our podcast some movies that are likely to show up at Comic-Con, and then we got confirmation that they are. So we're getting Project Hail Mary, and we're also going to be getting Coyote versus Acme, and
which we're also getting a signing for that one.
And we're getting a couple of films from Universal, but we don't know specifically which ones, right?
No, we don't. They've got a couple options here, and it runs the gamut here. We've got the animated Bad Guys 2, which, no offense whatsoever, but I think is not the one people want. They've got Black Phone 2 coming up. They've got Five Nights at Freddy's. They've got Him. So you've got your horror films over there. You've got... Don't think it's coming, but God, if they brought Wicked, guys,
Wicked.
like Universal would like own this convention. Like if they brought Wicked, I'm like, if I was Universal sitting over there being like, there's no Marvel Studios, there's no DC Studios, I would be like, who could we bring together for Wicked? Like, come on, guys, it's not gonna happen, but in my heart, it would be nice if it did.
So we're not getting. We're not getting the Naked Gun, right? But we are getting an activation.
We're getting an activation, yes. And a lot of people have been confused because we've said on-site activation, and so did the wrap. That does not mean inside the convention center. It will be outside the convention center, and I am 100% positive of that. So it will be something in the gas lamp, and then we also know for sure that Lionsgate, Legendary, and Sony will not be having a Hall H presence, but I don't think any of that is super surprising.
Right.
Somebody brought up Megan 2.0 or Jurassic. Those are both out, so I don't think they would bring those. But you never know. Weirder things have happened. We also got a look at this year's Toucan pen, which will be given away in sales when you pick up your book bag and lanyard. I do just want to point out that they said souvenir bag, which might even be the normal terminology. I don't know. Like, I please still have a sponsor for the bag. Someone, please. And then I also wanted to point out that they did say as badge inserts, which have been very popular, it says, feel free to personalize your badge with small pens or charms, but do not cover the artwork or any important information. If a security guard deems your badge as being obscured, they may ask you to visit Badge Solutions for resolution before you can head back to the convention. My 2 cents, honestly, is if you're using a badge insert, just make sure it's easily removable. So if anybody asks you about it, you can just quickly pull it out. So,
Yep.
Yep.
And then we got technically a couple of new trolley wraps. Really, just one new one. We got Gen V, which is why we think that we're going to be getting Gen V as part of the Amazon.
Surely. You don't do a wrap, but not a panel.
Yeah. And there was a wrap that had been seen, but not by us, for the Nintendo Switch, the Mario wrap. And we finally caught a picture of it. So if you want to see what that wrap looks like, it is now up on the site.
That was 6 weeks in the making. Okay. I'm not even going to do this one. We know Percy Jackson's going because there's a signing. If you still don't have a hotel yet, the Gaslamp Hostel is giving our readers 20% off. You can find information about that on our site.
And another visual guide from our friends over at Parks and Cons. Sean and Carmel produced outside San Diego Comic-Con and all the things you can do around and about and outside. So if you want to check that out, the video is up on our site.
Yep. And then the San Diego Public Library announced their annual comic conference for educators and librarians, which has all the panels for those groups. Those are free to attend. You don't need a Comic-Con badge, so if you're interested in those, definitely check those out. And then if you are a cosplayer, they are bringing back their annual cosplay repair station, where at the library they'll have sewing machines, 3D printers, laser cutters, all kinds of stuff to help you repair your cosplay.
And as we reported, the portal is open today, and it will be open until Thursday, July 17th at 11:59 p.m. There were a ton of signings that showed up in the portal among other things like Funko and Bandai Tamashii Nations, Jazzwares, Popmart, and UCC Distributing. So again, check it out. See the kind of things you may want to submit your credits for. Don't forget that you have 10 full days, so you don't have to do it immediately. Also, don't wait until 11:58 on the 17th. Do it maybe a day or two before. Just make sure. But you can wait a few days to see if they add anything new, which they sometimes do. New stuff gets added.
Yeah. They normally, I mean, I am point blank positive that there is stuff that has not been added because 100% Soft was not in there this morning. And I asked them, hey, are you supposed to be in there? And they said, yes, we're contacting Comic-Con right now. So there will for sure be things added.
And some things on here they might not want to put on there until the schedule is out to keep the schedule from being spoiled. So maybe
I think they already did that, James.
They just spoiled everything. You never know. There might be something.
There might be something, but I mean, they spoiled a good 20 panels here.
Maybe.
Yeah. And then MTS. So every year they do a discounted Comic-Con pass. You can buy anything from a 2-day to a 5-day pass at discounted rates through the Pronto app. And then if you watched our show with MTS a couple weeks ago, they are going to be giving away those really cool coin banks at a couple of the stations, and the details on when and where those are is all up on our site or on their site. And then just like normal, they're doing extended service through the Comic-Con special line again. So we've also got details on that. And then in other news, there's been plenty of signings, like $7 a pop has announced signings, Fantagraphs has announced signings. You can find all of that up on our site, and probably here in the next couple days, maybe week and a half, we will put up our list of announced autographs, where we do our very best to compile all of the announced autographs for you guys. So, yeah. All right, moving on to offsites. Do you want to take the first one? Feels up your alley.
Yes, Super 7 is unleashing a Godzilla pop-up at Comic-Con. Now, it's going to be at their store on 8th Avenue, and they are going all in on Godzilla -1. They're going to have, this is pretty cool, it's going to be from the Epic Train Attack a portion of the movie, destroyed set pieces, actual movie props, cosplayers, a kaiju response team staff, and exclusive merchandise, of course. It will be open from Wednesday through Sunday. On Wednesday from 7 p.m. to close, from Thursday through Saturday, 10 to 8, and then on Sunday from 10 to 7. They will also have Shin Godzilla director Shinji Higuchi in person for a signing on Friday at 11 a.m. And then they will have just a whole bunch of merchandise as well. So this looks like a fun time.
It does. It does. Their little takeovers of their store are always so cute. Kevin Smith is back, as we announced a couple of weeks ago, and now tickets are up for his 3 shows at the convention, which includes Archie Meets Jay and Silent Bob, which will be a live reading of their official Archie Comics crossover with audience participation, everyone's favorite, on Thursday, July 24th. Then on Friday, Jay Muse takes the spotlight in The Ghosts of Comic-Con's Past. And then finally, later that evening, Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman team up for their annual Hollywood Babylon. So tickets for all of those are available now for around $38. So, yeah.
And we have, I think we might have mentioned this before, but the Pac-Man Cafe is opening, and it's opening this coming weekend before Comic-Con, and will be open until August 3rd after Comic-Con. It's going to be just the Pac-Man Cafe with all kinds of cool stuff, arcade play, exclusive merch. There's going to be a menu created with the help of Inside Edition's Pac-Man, the official cookbook. So there's going to be some fun stuff, and there will also be some on the grand opening this weekend on the 12th and 13th, meet and greets with Pac-Man and Blinky, exclusive giveaways, the first 25 guests each day on select dates, which includes during Comic-Con the 24th through the 27th, will score limited edition pins, tote bags, cafe-themed merch, and free arcade access. So that is very cool. The cafe is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yes, absolutely. Batman 1989. So if you love the score from that, they will be doing that in concert. That's TCG Entertainment and Warner Brothers Discovery Global. They are doing it with a 50-piece orchestra at Gallagher Square in Petco Park. Doors are at 7 p.m. on Saturday, July 26th for an 8:30 show, and tickets are on sale now.
All right. And Stern Pinball is coming back with a special all-new Jaws pinball machine, as well as their pinball arcade. So the Stern booth 4029 and the pop-up at the Marriott Marquis, which is open from Thursday through Sunday, will have just a bunch of cool stuff, including this all new 50th anniversary Jaws pinball machine, which looks really cool.
Yes. Real quick, someone asked in the chat, where is Kevin Smith? Those shows are at Goodnight John Boy, which is 401 G Street. Just FYI. We also announced today we announced a couple weeks ago, XLE Productions is back with their annual Ready Party 1 kickoff party for Comic-Con, but we announced today that actor Efren Ramirez, who was Pedro in Napoleon Dynamite, will be DJing at the party. So that's pretty cool in celebration of the 20th anniversary of Napoleon Dynamite. So tickets for that are still on sale. So yeah. Okay. So we have had a couple of other activations. Speaking of Ready Party 1, we are giving away a pair of tickets. You can still enter through this weekend. And then Ignition Press, we announced their press room offsite a couple weeks ago. We've continued to announce several merchandise items that you'll be able to purchase there. So that's fun. All right, let's get into exclusives. Yes.
I'll kick it off. I'll kick it off first, I guess.
All right.
UCC Distributing, our friends with the massive amount of items coming to Comic-Con. Of course, they are going to be having that new item, the Baby 3, which you can see in the center in the picture here. They're going to have a bunch of exclusives, but they're also bringing things like the One Piece Devil Fruit glow-in-the-dark light-up squishy figure. Or actually, they're light-up squishy figures, not glow-in-the-dark. And then we have some Neopets items. Oh my goodness, there's so many things. Tons of Baby 3 exclusives. Some Hello Kitty tsunamis. Just scrolling here and just seeing all the things. We couldn't put everything onto one slide that they have because they have so much stuff. But they have this Rokomoto Peanuts Snoopy in puffer jacket figure. That's
so
exclusive.
Cute.
It's very cool. It's in a little, looks like it's in a little ramen cup.
Yeah. All their figures come in basically like little cup of noodles.
That's pretty cool. I like it. That's pretty awesome. Then we also have some Yu-Gi-Oh lanyards. Oh man, so many things. And then there is the exclusive McFarlane Toys DC Universe Beast Boy 7-inch figure. That one will be limited to 2,000 pieces. And then some Year of the Snake little pet shop snakes in a few colors. And I think that's it. That is brand new. So again, if you want to see all of their stuff, just head to the site and just scroll and scroll and scroll.
Yeah, so plenty of stuff for UCC. Let's jump over to Tamashii, where this got announced last week while we were on the show. But they have an SH Monster Arts Godzilla from the 2023 film, and it looks freaking amazing. Yeah, like the dorsal fins are painted clear to look like when he does his like energy activation thing. It's amazing. It's not cheap. It's $160, but it's super cool. And yeah, you can pick that up at booth 3345. And don't forget that they are part of the lottery this year.
All right. And then we have Fat Rabbit Farm. They have a bunch of exclusives, including multiple t-shirts, including the Hall H Abduction shirt, the Super BFF shirt, the Fluffy 4, and the Getting Stacked Eating Snacks, and What's Up Puto. So those are all $32 each. There's also a gift set you can get with a bunch of different items all in one, including the Getting Stacked t-shirt. There is a collector's pin and lanyard set limited to 150. We have a Super Baby and Super Pup collector's pin set limited to 100. That is only $24. We have a few other things, enamel pins and stickers. And I think that is everything for this batch. So they have just a bunch of fun items.
Yes, they do. Moving right along, I just wanted to give a little spotlight on an artist in Artist Alley, Unofficial, who is bringing mostly some Batman items, including some super cute pens, including A3 pens, as well as prints and charms and more. But I just think these are so freaking cute. So you can find all of that information on our site, but you should definitely go check it out.
And then we have Jada Toys, who we saw one of the Street Fighter items last week, but now we have a Mega Man Neo Metal 6-pack 1/12 scale action figure with all those little, what are those things called? Mets?
Mets, according to Robert, because I asked. I was like, what are these, Robert?
And then for adding to the Street Fighter 2, the Ultra Street Fighter 2 Dulcim Deluxe Player 2. And again, this features the figure and that red figure, that shadow, that fire thing, whatever that is. It's that we saw a sneak peek of previously. We now see that it's in with this action figure. So that is very cool.
Yes. Yes. Let's take a look at Monogram, who's another one who has had several exclusive reveals here in the last couple days, including they have a Mega Stitch set, which has 14 pieces. That is $120, and it basically includes every possible character in the Stitch universe. And then I also have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle times Naruto mashup lanyard and pen set for $20, and then a Godzilla 70th Anniversary Deluxe gift set for $40.
I'm waiting for the day when there is like a 630 piece exclusive Stitch set, because we finally have all 600 and something experiments.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I think that would be quite a bit of money, but yes.
When they finally reveal them all, we can finally have them all.
Yes.
Okay, so next up we have Titan, which is also bringing a lot of items. And again, this is just a small portion. If you're watching this on YouTube, a small portion of the items they're bringing, including the Klingon Next Door with
my friend Joey Spioto.
Joey Spioto. So it's going to have some fun stuff. There's a Rocky Horror Picture Show official coloring book and T-shirt. Junji Ito collection coloring book with a pin, Godzilla cookbook and pin. Oh my goodness, so many things. Star Trek: A Search for Spock.
You chose poorly. Like, you've gotten all the long ones.
Seriously. So Genshin Impact, Feeding Hannibal, a connoisseur's cookbook signed by Brian Fuller and the author Janice Poon. So, I mean, Rebel Moon has a few items, a bunch of Conan items, books, and there's a Doctor Who Volume 2 enamel pin set. They had Volume 1 a couple years ago. There's
last year.
Now, this is the cool one. There is a San Diego themed Doctor Who TARDIS shirt, which is very cool. Always love a little bit of a connection to San Diego. And they'll have a couple other T-shirts as well. Oh my goodness, so many. More Conan comics and multiples of those. Return to Skull Island, Heat Seeker, Exposed, a Gun Honey series. So I mean, so many things. So if you like your Titan stuff, or your Doctor Who, or your Conan, or anything, then head on over to their booth.
So if anybody is listening and they want stuff at Titan, I'm going to give you a little tip, which is that if you bring cash, they let you pass the line. So if you want, like, they can definitely get a line, especially like the first night. So if you want something, bring cash. That is my recommendation. Okay, Factory Entertainment. They had some more exclusives this week, including Masters of the Universe She-Ra Sword of Protection scaled prop replica, which is 7.5 inches in length, and it will be available for $50. And then they also have a Battlestar Galactica Cylon rifle scaled prop replica, which is 6.5 inches in length. And that one is available for $60. But like all their other exclusives, you can either pre-order those for shipping, or you can wait and purchase it at the booth.
I'm going to let you take the next one.
Okay, that's totally fine. Naoko Mullally has a gorgeous Wicked print. And this one, so she has a regular Wicked print that looks similar to this, but this one has a Comic-Con specific rainbow holographic finish to give it a little extra magic. This one will be limited to 100 pieces for $50 each, and I think it, like the rest of her work, is gorgeous, which is why I bought the original. So
wow, nice. I knew there was a reason I gave you that one to talk about.
Yep.
All right, next up is Priscilla Wilson has an update with a few items. First up is the limited to 15 seated Sune glow in the dark. That's the one on the left if you're watching this. That will be $95. Then we have, and this one is very cool, the Big Hall Sune. And you may notice the, if you're watching this again, but I'll go look on the site because it's very cool. These are glow in the dark. These are $85 each. They're limited to 20 pieces. There are 16 commons and 4 with the H, the Hall HH in the head of the figure.
I love these. I think these are the best things she's ever done. I'm obsessed. I'm not going to get it because she does a lottery, but I think they're gorgeous. So good job, Priscilla.
And finally, we have glow-in-the-dark spinning hall pins. And there's 6 different pins for each, well, 6 of the different halls. There's C, D, E, F, G, and H. And these are also glow-in-the-dark. And they are limited in a variety of numbers. If you want to see how much they're limited to for each pin, you can go to the site. We have the markings of how much each are limited to. And you can also see the 15 different sketch cards that she's created that you can get with a chance to win one when you buy these pins. So it's very cool. It's they're cool pins, and you get a chance at a one-of-one sketch card, basically, which there are 15 different sketch cards. Amazing stuff.
Yes. All right. Chris Uminga showed off another fun Comic-Con exclusive that is themed to the convention. We love when our exclusives are tied into the con. This is his Battle on Harbor Drive print, which sees Godzilla and several of his cohorts tearing up Harbor Drive. So that will be available for $20 at BB18 in Artist Alley, and it's got some really fun nods to the convention. Like you can see like the Welcome to Comic-Con sign on the ground and like the Hall H sign thrown over, but I think that's pretty cool.
It's fun. We have 100% Soft coming up next, and they have a debut with the Fantastic Four and the villains. And this one is pretty fun, and my favorite part, it's kind of hard to see, but at the very top, near the top right, there is Spider-Man with the paper bag over his head, the classic. Had to go walking around with a paper bag because they didn't have a mask for him. But anyway, this print is limited to 200, individually numbered and signed, and will be debuting at the convention for $55 each, limit 2 per person. And we'll have an online drop Thursday morning of Comic-Con, July 24th at 10 a.m. Pacific. We also have an 8-bit Dumpster Fire Dreamy Edition, limited to 500 pieces, will be $30. And we also have the Fantastic Four First Steps Galactus Devourer of Worlds figure, a soft vinyl figure, 11 inches tall, and it will be debuting at Comic-Con.
Yes. I think that one's going to be big. People seemed really excited about that one.
It's very cool.
Okay, let's talk about butts on things, which they are back at the convention this year in a bigger spot. They will be at booth 4523, which is a corner spot. And they have shown off several of their items so far, including some luggage tags featuring the behinds of R2-D2 and the Lego guy, a fridge magnet set with a donut and a coffee cup, and then today a Diet Butt, which is a Diet Coke can with a butt. So you can find all that information on the site, but I think those are fun, and there's plenty more to come.
Always on brand. There's always butts on things.
There's always butts on things. That's right.
Next up, we have Little Shop of Pins, and doing some pins of an anniversary that I wish was in the same quantity as Jaws. Not that there's not a lot for this, but it would be much cooler if it was all Goofy movie stuff, 30th anniversary, in the quantity that they're doing Jaws 50th anniversary. And we have two new pins.
I feel like there's been a decent amount, though.
There has been. I'm not complaining about it with the level. I just wish there was more.
Fair. All right.
Okay, so these pins are limited to 500, and they will be $16 each, and they feature, they're individually numbered. They have pearlescent sky swinging pots, so that little bit at the top actually moves, and they are also glow in the dark. So if you want to see these in motion and what the glow in the dark looks like, head to the site, because we have the GIFs running on the site for you to check out.
Absolutely. No, they're pretty freaking cool. Martin Sue has some new items, including today he showed off 3 new pieces of his Ted Lasso Cat series, which will be available for pre-order starting this Friday at 9 a.m. Be sure to check out the site for the pre-order code so you don't have to pay for shipping. He showed off a closer look at his Ted Lasso art book, and then the first 50 pre-order purchasers got a free print. And then he also showed off 3 of his Wicked Cats series. So on Friday, when the Wicked and the Ted Lasso launch, it'll be the prints as well as the originals.
All right. Then we
I think
have
this next one's really fun.
Monkey Minion. And he has some exclusives like Beach Party Borbs, a 13x9 print, limited to 100 for $50. And you can see that it is 100% themed to Comic-Con, which is awesome. And that companion... Yeah. What's that?
It's very Beach Boys 1960s. I just think it's fun.
And then we have the complementing postcard, a 5x7 Surfin' Borbs, front and center, paired with the lyrics from the Trashman's Surfin' Bird. Those will be $5 each. And we then have, let's see what we have, 1.7-inch wide new pins that are $15 each, featuring things like Ad Astra and the Gemini and the Apollo and the Shuttle and the Mercury. So those are all very cool looking.
Yes. So I was remiss last week in that I did not show Patrick's print. I think it got announced like that morning, and sometimes, guys, like it is so hard by the end of the day to like remember to go back and add things to this outline. So that was my bad. But his biggest print this year is the Big Show, which is a 12x18 print that features so many fun nods to Comic-Con and the show floor and the characters we love and the people who populate the convention. And it's so good. But that is available for $60. He also showed off a Ted Lasso themed Believe pennant, which will be available for $20. And then today he showed off a K-pop Demon Hunters The Golden Girls print, which is a 9x12 for $25. All of those you can pick up at DD08.
And of course, I did the little inset of like zoomed in art on the not because it was the bathrooms. No, if you look to the left, right there coming through the door is our very own Carrie Dixon and Sarah. Right?
It's me. Yeah.
Yes.
It's talking to Venom because of course we are.
Of course. So yes, there are lots of details.
He had me last year in the newspaper, like I was typing, and all I was typing was Tom Hardy, and I was like, fair. That's pretty fair.
I'm also really happy to see the K-pop Demon Hunters. That we just watched that over the weekend, and that was a really good movie.
I still need to see it. Everybody I know is like, it's amazing, and I'm like, I have no time, but I want to see it. So
it's Netflix. They have time. It could be eventually, right?
Yeah. Post Comic-Con, yeah.
All right. Next up, yesterday's a bunch more pins. We have, let's see, let's go through these. Kaiju Jam, 200 pieces. T800, 200 pieces. The Ogre, 100 pieces. Tree Man, $10. I love that Tree Man. Gotham Roller Skate, $10. 100 pieces on each of those.
It's like what could we name these so we don't get sued? Yep.
Joel, 200 pieces. The Fireflies pendant with velvet pouch is $20 and limited to 200 pieces. And then we have a bunch of sketchbooks, including the 2025 Convention Center sketchbook for $20. The Lumen Industries, the Burn Book, and the Tragic Girls, all $20 each. And Death Note. And I did manage to fit every single one of those onto this slide somehow.
I am very impressed right now. I really am. Did you do this or did Beth?
Oh, this is all me this time.
Okay. All right. Well, good job. Good job. Very good. All right. And then I want to show off this one just for fun. But Karen Hallion has a Pedro Pascal print, which is they are $25 each. There's actually two different versions. One says "Bullies Make Me Fucking Sick," and the other says "Protect the Dolls." But those will be available in BB16. So it sure feels like this is Pedro's year. So I really hope we get Pedro at the convention, but we'll see.
We shall see. And then we have about as many that we didn't have slides for that we did that have exclusives. Are you going to do your thing?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to do my thing. There's a lot this week, guys. So Figpen has shown off all kinds of exclusives, including like Inside Out, Toy Story 3, Dragon Ball, Spider-Man, Kaiju number 8, and so much more. Chris Mays has started doing additional announcements. He's doing mystery boxes, and then he started his first of 3 announcements about his original art that will be at the convention. Nan Hawken, we showed off everything that she's bringing, from prints to originals to pens to everything. Hand Over the Hero is doing a Avatar The Last Airbender themed print where like I don't know what he is, like the yak is like holding Aang. So that will be available at their booth. People seem really excited about that one. KRS Comics, we showed a Fantastic Four variant cover as well. Nope, that's the only one that we showed. Val Hochberg has more original art that she's bringing. Those are $45 at her booth. She just has these little bins from her booth, as well as some keychains for Bluey and Bingo. Hyperactive Monkey, we've shown off a bunch of stuff, including some really cute like hair accessories that are in like food packaging, but those are fun. Sam and Fuzzy are doing a bunch of dog themed t-shirts and pens. Digital Pep has a t-shirt with a capybara with a chainsaw, so if that's your thing, check them out. Punch It Chewy has all the Star Wars pens, as well as they're doing a Spider-Man pen and a Godzilla pen. PCB Comics has comics for X-Men and Berserker and more. Let's see. Icon Heroes has more of their Zoo-Jitsu, including a Pounce action figure. Alex Ross announced additional things like a Superman #1, as well as a Street Fighter print. JYK All Day has continued to show off more things, including a Transformers print today, which will be available for pre-order later this week, a sketchbook, and more. Kid Hero Productions showed off a new comic book. Long Live Filbert. Mezco showed off a DC Nightwing figure. Essential Sequential has shown off more artwork from Art Adams. And Upper Deck today showed off their exclusive trading cards, which are very retro themed DC artwork. Those are really cool. You should definitely check those out. Boom Studios also announced their exclusives today, as well as their panels, including an Amazon Prime panel for butterflies. So that's news. And then finally, Wolfgang Industries has been showing off their t-shirts. Somebody in the chat asked earlier who was doing the horror themed shirts. It's these guys. Wolfgang Industries. You can go pre-order those online now. So yeah, there are lots of other news all over our site. I'm sure we had some questions, so we can go find those in the chat. You probably already covered what is the Pop Mart exclusive. I don't know. We know Pop Mart is coming. We know they're in the exclusives portal. We do not know what Pop Mart is bringing. So hopefully they announce that at some point before the 17th when it closes. And who knows? Maybe they're not even bringing anything. Maybe they are, or not exclusive. Maybe they are literally just bringing like their regular stuff, and everybody thought it would be so overrun because they're Pop Mart that like they have to be in the portal. I think honestly that's possible. I do just want to point out, because we've had a lot of questions about it, UCC Distributing will not have an exclusive Labubu. They will just have like regular Labubu blind boxes. Their exclusive items are for Baby 3, which is a totally different company, but they do blind box little plush figures as well. Let's see here. Thrilljoy. Somebody said Thrilljoy is UCC. Kind of. Like, those are two very different companies. But so far, the only announced Thrilljoy exclusives are at UCC Distributing's booth. So if you want access to those, yes, you do have to enter the lottery. Mike Nelson said, has anyone compiled all these floor map excerpts into a full map? No, but if Comic-Con takes much longer, I might. Like, this is ridiculous, guys. Please, if you are listening, Comic-Con, and you're not, but please, give us the format. Like, we have literally never had it be this late. And we have also never gotten the exclusives portal before the format. Like, this is crazy. So, please.
There had to be some little wrench in the works this year, right? Everything was going too smooth.
I don't know, man. It's been weird. It's been real weird. Okay. Yeah. So, real quick. Michael Ebel asked, I understand we can pick up badges on Tuesday, but does that mean we can pick up the back, pen, and schedule book? Yes, usually it's not a problem at all to go do that. So, okay. I think that about does it. So, as for our reminders, we are a free-to-use site. We are a free service. But if you appreciate the work that we do have a Patreon where all your money goes back into the site. Our hosting bill is definitely not free. And we do lots of giveaways during the convention for you guys, and all that money kind of goes into that. So we do have a Patreon. We would love if you would join that. We will be doing friendship bracelet meetups again this year. TBD on times. Probably won't post those until next week after the full schedule's out. But one will for sure be on preview night. So go make some friendship bracelets and join us in doing that. We would love that. We've been doing our attendee question of the week. Make sure you get your answers in for those today. And I think that's it.
I think that is it. I think that's going to wrap up this one. This one, almost 2 hours today. Oh, boy. We'll be back on Friday. One of our Breaking Down the Schedule podcast, where we break down Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then we'll be back on Sunday at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern for part 2, where we break down Saturday and Sunday. And then next Tuesday, the final SDConCast before Comic-Con, where our special guest is going to be 1540, who is another of the offsite activation companies that is responsible for the Lodge, and we'll be talking to them.
And possibly more, TBD.
We'll see.
People need to make decisions. People need to make decisions.
It's the year of 2 guests per podcast, I guess. All right. We have did you talk about the newsletter?
No, I don't think I did. You can sign up for our newsletter. We are actually doing this out, so make sure that you can do that on the bottom of our site.
All right.
Not many left.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Carrie, where can we find you on the internet?
Real quick, somebody in the chat asked cups of water. Yes. You can find me online at Carrie Dixon on Twitter and Instagram. James, where can we find more of your work?
I am everywhere on Twitch, everywhere at Dan Regal, but Twitch and YouTube, it's the Dan Regal. I am on the Overexerted Lorcana podcast, which I am now officially late for recording tonight because we went over a little bit, which is funny. Thank you to Beth, our producer, for editing the show and getting it into your ears and all the little things to get this podcast done.
Yes, thank you, Beth. We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up in the blog. You can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We are also on Stitcher Radio and Spotify, and the links are in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at info@sdccblog.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening. Everybody, go Lorcana.